I greet you with the joy of Jesus in my heart. For it is in Him that I live, breathe, I move, and I really do have my very being. And I'm so glad that you joined Unboxed on purpose today. We are a podcast that is sponsored by the Father Ministries, and I am Barbara Arlene Fields Brehon, your host. Our featured guests share how they stepped outside of comfort zones to become unboxed. We share experiences that lead to the fulfillment of purpose. I pray that each episode will help our audience to access their authentic destiny. And sharing with us today is Sheyenne. I said it wrong. I'm not going to pull her up until I say it right. Sheyenne Kreamer. Would you say it for me, please?
You got it right, Barbara. It's Sheyenne Kreamer. Thank you.
I say it wrong sometimes because of the way it's spelled, but I thank you that she is so delightfully endowed with a sense of humor. And so today she's going to discuss with us the idea that the world needs you to find your song and sing it. Sheyenne is a full-time RVer. That's right, recreational vehicles. Her home is wherever she parks it. I just love that. She is currently parked in Raleigh, North Carolina. Sheyenne says that her passion is to help people to create, she helps to create new communities, which obviously helps people. That helps heal wounds, housing people that want it. You can't help people that don't want the help. She educates people on ways to become self sustaining, and they are in alignment with our Creator God. Sheyenne Kreamer has spent more than 20 years helping people connect their head and their heart with their soul's desire to create income while making positive impact in the world. She has worked as a manufacturing apprentice, technical recruiter, project manager, organizational consultant, all that before launching her business, Universal Solution. Yeah, Solution, SOUL, Solution Alliance. It is a great alliance. And later, she's launched We Care Partnerships Network with her husband, Donald, and her partner, Richard Mabe. She has been an instructor for Wake Tech Community College and the University of North Carolina. She calls herself a community and economic development specialist. At the heart of all they do, they encourage people to invite God back into society. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in cyberspace. Hey there. Thanks for connecting with us.
Awesome. Thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited about the things that I know God is going to do with us in the days, weeks, and months to come. I would like for you to just share a little bit about yourself in the way that you would like to, and how we had our first conversation and connected.
Mm. Well, it was interesting because I think you reached out to me through LinkedIn. And I remember at the time I was like, oh, this sounds like somebody I really want to talk to, but I need to wait until after we get done this big event. So thank you for being patient and giving me a little bit of space to breathe there. So that was amazing. But my background, a lot of the whole concept of find your song and sing it actually goes all the way back to high school for me. I was asked to do a speech at graduation, and my topic was follow your heart, because I saw so many of my classmates. For one, I had already lost one to suicide. And there was a second one I was really concerned about because he really wanted to be involved in ministry right away. And his parents, who were very well-meaning, they were like, well, there's other things you could do to make more money. And they got him into accounting. And he was an incredibly good accountant, tax preparing person. and we lost him about 10 years ago to suicide. So, those things just kind of jumped out at me right from the beginning in my world, that we needed to do more to, as Barbara mentioned, connect our heads with our hearts. And instead of trying to figure out how to stuff our life in the cracks around some money-making career, how do we start with our life as God meant it to be and build our income around that? That is hugely what I'm all about. And so many of the pieces of the puzzle my husband and I have been building together, and now with our partner Richard, these are all things that are all about putting heart and soul back into business, putting heart and soul back into our communities, and heart and soul back into our careers. That's the bottom line.
I appreciate the bottom line, and in speaking with you as well as in speaking with Rick, it is amazing that the passion is just so relevant and so alive. Now, how far back can you really trace your passion to be this way and to do the things that you're doing now? Does it really go back to your childhood or before the time that you already mentioned?
Well, I do remember that I used to play teacher when I was a kid. I'd grab neighborhood kids and stick them into chairs and teach about math. And isn't that funny? I'm a math major, but you know I think that's just because I'm so passionate about being a problem solver. That's what it's about for me. So that's my earliest memories of that type, and the fact that it was probably in my very early teen years when I struggled with depression quite a bit. And it wasn't until, into my 20s when I had all kinds of interesting things happen, that where I really started to seek God and seek spiritual guidance. And, that's when I got more involved with my Christian roots. And that's when I started to feel like I was becoming more aligned and, interestingly, less depressed.
Isn't that interesting? And so I just love how you weaved into there the whole idea about being a math major and how that has everything to do with problem solving.
It
But it has
is.
everything to do with a God seed that was planted before you were actually born, because that's the way God works. He knows what he's doing when he creates us, and he
Yes.
knows what he wants us to do. We're created for a purpose. We're created on purpose in his image to do what he tells us to do. And man, oh man, oh man, let me hush and let you keep talking. Go ahead and describe yourself a little bit more, and tell us something about who's been a big influence in your life. And you can take any part of your life that you want, because we're connecting to the whole idea of being unboxed on purpose. Who's your biggest influence in regard to your ultimate purpose in life?
Oh my goodness. I wish I could even put my finger on that right now. That's interesting because for me, like I said, back in my 20s, I had an experience that yeah, that was a big part of my change right there. I had an experience, believe it or not, I had a miscarriage on a cruise ship, if you can imagine such a thing. And that experience landed me in a hotel in Puerto Rico where, while I was under anesthesia, I felt like something very strange happened. I mean, some people might refer to it as something that could have even been like a near death experience, but it was the first time that for me, I really felt close to the creator, because I was somewhere else. I was traveling. I was doing all kinds of interesting things, and I remember thinking, I need to get back because my husband is going to be worried about me, and there's things I need to do. And that actually became heavily a turning point in my life where, all of a sudden it was much more of the seeking, the asking, looking for guidance, because I did not have the benefit growing up of a spiritual leader in my world. So, that's where I ended up heavily. Now, I will say, right about that time that all of this happened, I ended up meeting a minister of a church here in Raleigh that actually became kind of a mentor to me. And I love the fact that before he was a minister, he owned a health food store. So he understood entrepreneurship, he understood business, and he understood doing business in honest, ethical ways that also involved your heart. So actually he probably had more of an influence on me than anything. And then the fact that, he obviously after leaving the health food store, his world became all about helping people to grow in their spiritual development. So yeah, he's probably a really good influence for me.
I mean, you got great stories, and the backstory that goes to who I know you are right now is just totally fascinating. So I'm gonna just ask you to go ahead and dump some more of the puzzle pieces out and deal with this whole topic of stepping outside of a box of confinement, where you dared to actually reach for the purpose that you know you're ultimately designed for, and you can go in any direction with that you choose. I'm going to go backstage and enjoy every syllable that comes out of your mouth.
Well, thank you, dear. Oh my goodness. Well, and there's actually two parts of the story, and I don't even know. I can't remember all the things we talked about previously, but there were two huge pieces of my story that led me to the path that we're in today. First was getting laid off from corporate America twice in less than a year. And it was during that layoff period. The second layoff was actually a plant closing. And so that became a huge piece for me because I'd been laid off twice by the same company with the same job title in less than a year. The only difference was the two locations were 800 miles apart. And so this time I was dumped into a place where I'd only been here 6 months. It was here in the Raleigh area. I'd only been here 6 months. I had no network of people, no family, no nothing. And I had no idea how to go forward after losing the second job in less than a year. And that was when I said, okay, God, I'm asking for your help. I need to know what to do. And you're going to love this piece of the story because, I kept going to interviews and interviews and interviews, and I never seemed to get the job. I was number 2 instead of number 1. And so one night I was home and the doors were only 2 weeks from closing at that plant that I was working at. And I'm cooking dinner. I'm peeling potatoes. And all of a sudden, it was the craziest thing. It was like this lightning bolt hit my head. And it was loud. I could hear it in my head. And it said, be a consultant. And I went, what? Who said that? And it was crazy because right after that, I also got the name of a company I should call. And, I'm standing there going, okay, God, be a consultant. I don't know what an entrepreneur is. I'm not even sure I know how to spell it. And you want me to go out and be a consultant. This is interesting. But the funny part was that right after that, as I started writing down all these things that I thought I could really love to do, because I said, man, if I'm going to try to be an entrepreneur, I better love what I'm doing because I got to be able to talk about it enthusiastically. And so that's what happened was I'm sitting there writing all this stuff. I'm going, oh yeah, I love doing problem solving teams. I love being a leader and facilitator of those kinds of teams. I could do that. And it was crazy because I went back into the office the next day and I had a list of people who had already been placed in jobs. So there was my network. These were people I'd been working with in the plant startup that was now a plant closing. There's my network. So I start calling them and I'm telling them this crazy idea about me being an entrepreneur and becoming a consultant. And I only get about halfway through the list and this gal goes, oh my God, I have an HR manager who needs you like yesterday. She says, let me go talk to him. And sure enough, she connected me with him. I went in to visit him. And 3 weeks later, I had a 6-month consulting contract. And that was with somebody who knows nothing about sales and marketing. So that was the beginning where God started to show me, hey, if you can become an entrepreneur, and you knew nothing about it. Nobody in my family, they all worked for government agencies. Nobody in my family knew entrepreneurship or anything else. And it was like he started stair-stepping me down this path to learn how I could help other people to become consultants. And isn't it interesting? That was back around the year, I don't remember the year. I'm not even going to try to figure it out. But anyway, we were in a down economy then. And right now, I sat in a room full of people who've been laid off in the last few weeks. And I'm thinking, oh my God, do I need to go back to teaching people how to be an independent consultant? So, God prepares us for what's coming in the future. And sometimes we don't know what that is. But I learned so much by being a consultant, learning how to become a super connector, connecting people with opportunities with other people. That has become one of my big gifts. Well, fast forward a few years, and this is the part I think we talked about previously, Barbara, was that, I was inspired to be building a platform to be able to market independent consultants. It started out as Triangle Solutions Alliance. It's now what you called Universal Solution Alliance. And I was building out this platform because my husband was doing very well as an entrepreneur. He had his own business here in Raleigh, did really well with it. But as I was doing all this prototyping, I wasn't making as much money, and we were relying on him until he started to have some physical health challenges. And those health challenges, we got to a place where we said, you know what? I said, I can't be out here telling people to find your heart song and build work around it when you're sitting here feeling miserable, even if it is more physical that's causing you the misery. I said, we got to get you out of this business. Well, we found a creative way to sell it, but unfortunately, it was a tad bit too creative. The gentleman who bought it from us were supposed to keep paying my husband as a consultant while we were working on building out this new business platform. And instead, they kind of took the business down into the ground in about 18 months, and we were not prepared. And we went through, and this was back 2008, 2009, when so many people lost homes. We went through foreclosure. We went through repossession. We lost pretty much everything that we had. And at the time, I remember both my husband and I, we were doing a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, asking God for guidance on what to do. And one day I looked at my husband, I said, are we supposed to fight to keep this house? And he said, I don't think so. And I said, well, that's interesting because I don't think so either. And we looked at each other and we said it almost simultaneously. We're supposed to go on the road. And so that's what really kicked us outside the box. And that became the journey of figuring out how to pull ourselves back together and get prepared to go out on the road and teach people not only entrepreneurial skills where necessary, because I've taught in prisons, homeless shelters, we've worked with at-risk youth, we've done all of these things. But the other interesting point is I now know why God put me in corporate America as long as he did, because now we're being told, and especially as we look at devastation, like what's happening with these hurricanes and stuff, where whole communities are being wiped out, we're being told that this is where we take what I learned in corporate America about team-based problem solving and bring it into communities. Help people figure out, what is my heart song? What do I get passionate about? Do I want to do something to help our community with education? Or do I want to help our community with health and wellness? Or do I want to help our community in their quest for spiritual development? So we can help people in a community to start to develop these teams. And in those teams, we use my Find Your Song and Sing It program to help them figure out, okay, so what Where's your heart song, your personal heart song? What's it about for you? What did God give you to pay forward to somebody else? And then what did he give you for skills and talents that you could be sharing with other people to help create a solution team for your community? Because one of the things I'm hearing in Western North Carolina right now is there's a lot of people got really frustrated, decided they couldn't wait for the government to save them. And so they're coming together in groups all over those mountains to figure out how to save themselves.
This is great stuff. And right where you are right now, I want you to give us a little bit more detail, if you will, about that notion of finding your heart song and sing it. Just
I
tell us a
know.
little bit more about what that means and what that program and what it is that you do in that regard.
Absolutely. And probably the best way to be able to explain it is what I told a group of career transitioners this morning. I said, when I got laid off from corporate America, I got all kinds of what I would call technical assistance. They brought all these outplacement people in, career development counselors in, and basically I got help with a resume. I got help with interview skills. I got help with networking. I got a lot of the technical skills, but they weren't very helpful with emotional pieces of the puzzle or spiritual pieces of the puzzle. And so that's what I'm all about is, how do we help the whole person, body, mind, and spirit, to be able to figure out what that heart song is about. And I'll give you my secret, because for me, I have been able to boil it down to 4 basic questions that if somebody will answer them honestly, then we can get a pretty good idea of what their heart song is about. The first question is what I love to ask everybody. When I'm out networking, if I get an opportunity to network with people, I'll say, so if you had a closet full of money that was never going to run out, what would you be doing with your time? People who have thought about something like that are the ones who have figured out a heart song. Now, I've got way too many people who say, I'd be traveling. Well, it's like, okay, so we have a society that wants more vacation. I get that. Not a news flash to me. But the people who say, oh my God, if I had money and it wasn't going to run out, if they tell me I'd be helping homeless women, or I'd be helping veterans, or I'd be volunteering with foster care kids, or, if somebody can tell me something like that, then I know they've identified what it's all about. And 9 times out of 10, if you start asking more questions, you'll find out that the reason their heart is there is because of something they experienced themselves. I once worked with a high school class where we were doing a business plan writing competition, and there were 6 teams that kind of divided themselves up in the class to do business plans. I found it very interesting. There was a group of young men who wanted to do a nonprofit business plan on a new kind of group home for boys. And there was a group of young ladies who wanted to do a nonprofit business plan on a new type of domestic shelter for Hispanic women. These kids were operating out of their experience. They already were starting to understand what their heart songs were all about. So that's the first question. Second question I ask people, and this is one of the most telling, because I don't believe God makes mistakes. And I believe that he helps us to find the experiences that we are meant to pay forward. So I ask people, what is something difficult that you've been through in your life, that you've come up against a major challenge and you found a way to go over, around, or through it? And what wisdom did you gain? How could you help others with that wisdom and that knowledge? So many people end up talking about what they've been through that has been difficult. You know, my difficulties with depression when I was young has led me to doing suicide prevention events. You know, losing everything at one point in our life, we're all about teaching entrepreneurship and self-reliance, you know, as a result. Health challenges my husband has had, my dad had, are part of why I'm all about health and wellness for people. So, you know, if you can get people to talk about those things that have been difficult for them and what they learned, they can almost always, they could write a book about that. They could teach a class about that. They could do webinars about that. There's so much they can do to pay that wisdom forward. The third question I ask is, you know, what kind of hobbies, projects do you have? And I don't mean watching football on TV. That doesn't count. But, you know, are you a crafty person? Are you a woodworking person? Do you like the landscape? What do you like to do where you're creating? Because creating is of the spirit. And I will tell you that the human brain is happiest when we are in a creation process. That's no accident. We were made in the image and likeness of a creator. What do you expect? So that's the third one. The fourth one, if nobody can figure out an answer to any of the other three, this is the catch-all. What is it that you see in the world that makes you either angry as a hornet or makes you so sad that you just want to cry? Because our emotions are tied to our passions. And if something makes you really angry or really sad, there's a really good chance that somehow there's something in your heart that is connected to that, where even if it was just, okay, I get angry when I see homeless people, go into a you know, a homeless shelter or a food pantry, helping to give out food, whatever. Those are things that are part of your heart song. But I do believe we all have the ability to create something that can be of service to somebody else. So that's a big part of the Find Your Song and Sing It. And helping, what I do with We Care Partnerships is I help businesses to figure out how to create a social impact component in their business.
I know that you've dumped a lot of stuff out of that box of yours, and there are a lot of nuggets for us to just go back to and treasure when we press replay and catch the ones that really resonate in our hearts to get us moving toward some destiny, toward some purpose that we've been welching on a little bit. And so let's look back one more time. And is there any advice that you would give to the younger you that would help us with advice to the generations that are yet unborn?
Oh, I love that question because, yeah, and especially because our youth are so confused right now. You know, suicide is the first or second leading cause of death of 10 to 18-year-olds in North Carolina. That is horrendous. So younger, if I was talking to younger me, I would be all about telling that person, God's given you gifts, given you skills, given you talents. They may be undiscovered yet, but that's the treasure hunt that you're about to go on. Is the treasure hunt of learning what those skills and talents are. Because when you figure out what they are and you find the joy in using them, and then you figure out what's in your heart that allows you to make a difference in the world with those gifts and skills and talents, you will recognize that you are the miracle that we're waiting for.
Whoa. I'm back here grunting, meaning backstage. It's like they can't hear me, they can't see you. I got enthralled in what you were saying because I know there is a lot of truth there. With everything that you're dumping out, people are going to want to get in touch with you. What are some ways that they can connect with you? We want to flash those across the screen.
Oh my goodness. Well, I am all over Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Those are the three platforms that I'm mostly on. And I don't have any crazy fancy names there, just what you see on the screen. You can find me on any of those platforms quite easily. You know, happy to connect with people there. And, CheyenneKreamer.com, I need to do some updates to the website, but I do believe there's a way that you can at least contact me through that website as well. On the screen here, I've actually included something that's kind of interesting because, again, I'm all about, how do I help people heal body, mind, and spirit so that they can live in their song? That's really live your song is my hashtag. And it's our physical challenges, our emotional challenges, and those types of things that stop us from living our song. So under my name there's actually a link that people can use, because I have kind of a cool tool that I can use, and it actually will give you the opportunity to use your phone and get a free face scan that takes all of 30 seconds, and it will tell us all about what's going on with your health and your emotions, because our emotional health and our spiritual health play a huge role in whether we can live in our song.
That's fascinating. I'm thinking I need to just check that out. You hadn't told me about that little piece.
I'm just full of all kinds of crazy stuff.
So we're going to have to do a face scan here and see what comes out of that. God bless you for that. Is there anything else you want to share with us about the work that you do? Anything that's coming up or anything else that you would like to promote?
I have no idea, because I'm kind of in that space of just kind of waiting for God to give me the next marching orders. Although I could end up in the North Carolina mountains helping out up there. I'll mention it, and of course it'll go away after too long. But I've got a fundraiser on Facebook for the Hope Institute, which is Richard's nonprofit, because we're trying to raise funds to be able to do more to help folks who've been devastated by these hurricanes. So I'll mention that.
Absolutely. Would you go ahead with Richard's contact information? And if all goes well, his show should air the week after yours, if I can get him pre-recorded.
Okay, sounds good. We can do that. I mean, his website is livinghopeinstitute.org. And
Well,
so we can always take donations there, livinghopeinstitute.org. And a lot of our donations right now are being directed towards suicide prevention, mental wellness, those kinds of things, because the devastation that people have been through with this last hurricane, and now another one in Florida, good Lord,
yes.
It's trauma that creates suicide ideation, and we really want to help people get calmed down.
We want to help as many people as we can in whatever way we can. And we will indeed use our heart song to know exactly what it is that God wants us to do.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne, for being here today. You are unboxed on purpose. All those experiences in your earlier days have helped you to become who it is that you are today. And you've encouraged others, I believe, to step outside of their boxes on purpose, to pursue whatever is authentically their own. Anything else you'd like to say before I give our closing remarks?
Just sending peace and blessings to everybody, and praying that more people will understand that you are the miracle. Don't sit on those gifts. Les Brown says the graveyard is the most, the fullest of treasure that never was realized. Don't let that happen to you.
My. Wow, there's just so much that can be said in such a short time. We've had a lot poured out. And we thank you, Cheyenne, for being here, for sharing the things that you have. And we want our listening audience to just keep tapping in on a weekly basis for about 30 minutes or so for Unboxed on Purpose. We have refreshing conversations. We giggle with God as much as we want to. We share experiences that not only shape our today, but our future, and wherever God is going to take us. We want our episodes to help people to experience whatever makes them who they are and move toward it. And so every Thursday, we release our episodes. I'm so tongue-tied. Favored by the Father Ministries YouTube channel is what our host is for the platform. We put it on Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, and most other podcast platforms. So as we evolve, we are like butterflies that float out of a box of confinement, allowing the Holy Spirit to advance us to lofty, immeasurable heights in the Lord. We want you to fulfill your purpose. We want you to bloom wherever you are planted. And most of all, we want you to remain favored by the Father. Thank you so much for joining us today on Purpose. Bye-bye. Favored by the Father Ministries is hosting a fall spiritual retreat. Oh yes, we are having a fall spiritual retreat at the Williamsburg Christian Retreat Center, which is located in Toano, Virginia, November 14th and 15th, 2024, as promises to give you a spiritual enlightenment that you have never seen before. This spiritual retreat is designed to provide respite and nurture for those who constantly pour into others. This is a getaway for one night filled with spiritual teachings, meditation, connecting with nature. Come to our fall spiritual retreat with your mentor, with your mentee, so that you can share some special moments together, stepping aside from the routine of life. We are asking for a nominal fee of $180 that includes all of these things: room, dinner, breakfast, snacks, and all retreat materials and activities. The registration fees are due by November the 1st, and the point of contact is Barbara Brehon. You may email favoredbythefather.com. You may email favoredbythefather.com. You may register on Eventbrite. For anyone needing an alternate payment option, you may mail a check payable to Favored by the Father Ministries. That will be Post Office Box 1114, Tappahannock, Virginia 22560. Tappahannock, Virginia, TAPPAHANNOCK. Include a note with your email address and phone number for confirmation of receipt. All checks must clear by November the 1st, which is the registration cutoff date. Another option is to Cash App Barbara Brehon, sending a message again through Barbara at favoredbythefather.com. Our email address is barbara@favoredbythefather.com. You may find us on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you can send your messages to us if you have questions. We are looking forward to an inspirational experience at our fall spiritual retreat, tucked away behind luscious trees that show the magnificent splendor of God's creation. Come, join us there for our fall spiritual retreat, November 14th and 15th, 2024. Join us. You won't be disappointed, because this is designed with you in mind. Remain favored by the Father.